Three, two, one. Hello, all you lovely people out there trying to make the world a better place. Welcome to the Dead Man Talking podcast. Actually, it's the Dead Man Walking podcast. I'm not sure why I said that. I should know my own podcast name. Um, I'm your host, Repeatedly Dead Fred, because that's what happened to me. I'm the author of the soon to be released medical trauma memoir, The Summer I Died 20 Times. And today I have a fabulous guest with me. I have Tina Ginn, who is both an award winning author or best selling author. Which one is it? Both?
Best song.
Best selling superstar. And she also has an app called My Backup Plan, which is a fascinating concept that I think is really important and people should buy into. And she's going to tell us how she came to be an author and how she came to this amazing software app. So, Tina,
Well, thank
welcome.
you for having me on. Thanks so much, Fred. That's awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Um, you know, I think we all come out of something horrible with more resilience and more giving back to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of where it probably started for me.
Mm-hmm.
It probably started when I had a horrific car accident in 2017. And from that, you know, sometimes you have this rude awakening. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
start the app program, Your Backup Plan. It didn't start there. It started actually a little bit earlier than that, where I was
Mm-hmm.
just forming it. First, I formed it. It took a couple of years just to create it because I had the concept in my head, but I wasn't sure how to do it. And I had put it into a book first. And
Mm-hmm.
then after that, it went into a binder because it was so big. It encompassed everything that you can possibly think of for being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, with my Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer background, that I would put it into an app. I knew it had to go into an app, I just didn't know the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was currently putting it into the app when I had my car accident. And so that kind of evolved from there, where it went into, unfortunately, divorce. And it went into finding my way through everything that comes after a car accident or a
Mm-hmm.
traumatic event. And that it could have been what you probably went through too, Fred. When there's
Mm-hmm.
something so traumatic, I think it really hits you hard to finding yourself and your place in the world and what you should be doing,
Absolutely.
and where you are in your own life. And gosh, I don't know, there's so many things. What do you think? About as
Uh,
many?
I agree with you 100%. Like it's totally, you have these life altering events and yeah, you become a different person, I think. And sometimes it's not for the better, and with myself, fortunately, it has been for the better. With you, um it's also been for the better, with all the work you're doing. I mean, you've got a great podcast, and you've created this software. So maybe we can take a step back and talk a little bit about what plan we're backing up, because I think
Right.
that's the really important part of this.
Yes, that's for sure. All plans, actually. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
plan to be prepared for the unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And how that evolved was, I had been in the financial world for about 15 years at that point. And I had looked at clients' stuff, and I went over as an insurance advisor, and they would throw all these papers on the table and then say to me, I don't know what I have. But
Mm-hmm.
they think they're covered, and they have no idea if something did happen, if they are covered. That's kind of what it looks like for most people.
Mhm.
Or they have very little or none at all, or they don't know if they should, all of those kinds of things. So I started thinking, what makes us all really intelligent when it comes to an understanding, when it comes to insurance or life happens kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I thought, nobody teaches us that. You
Absolutely not.
no, you actually have to go into that financial world and be educated in it, what's available and why and how and what that looks like and all of that sort of stuff. You have to really do a lot of research or get educated in it. And the majority of people, I would say 95% anyways, wouldn't have an idea because we're
Mhm.
not taught anything
Mhm.
about being prepared, either for a tragedy emergency or a car accident or sickness or death. But so I had a girlfriend, um, whose husband called me and said, Tina, can you pick up Carol from the hospital? I'm She has to go in for some tests. She has this cough. She can't get rid of it. And I said, sure, just give me a call. So he called me later in the day and said, she's not coming home. She has to stay in for more tests. So the next day he calls me and said, I don't have to pick her up today. She's staying in the hospital. She has stage 4 lung cancer. And I was so shocked. I mean, just from thinking that you have a cough, walking into a
Mhm.
hospital and never, ever coming out again.
Mhm.
You know, who thinks of doing that? When you go in for an emergency of some sort, you just think you're going in and getting fixed.
Mhm.
Right? So
Yeah.
I had gone to visit her on many occasions, and at every single time when you go up in that elevator, you the elevator doors open and you get this woof of hospital air,
Yeah.
and then you think, oh, what is she going to be like today? What is she going to look like today? How's she going to talk? And as the days progress, it gets becomingly worse because now you're thinking, oh, I hope she looks better. I hope she feels better.
Mhm.
All of these things. And it's just progressively getting worse. And at one point, I had taken her early on, I had taken her out to the patio outside.
Mhm.
And she took my hand and she said, Tina, I just want to see the sky. I want to hear the birds and I want to feel the breeze on my face. And I thought,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, like that's it. Just it was like somebody just put a firework inside of me. And I thought, that's it. That's all people want when push
Mhm.
comes to shove. I
Mhm.
mean, in life, we just, oh, I want to do what Jones are doing. Oh, I want as much as they have. Oh, I want to have a better job. I want to have more money. I mean, it's just a life of now I have a whole bunch of stuff and now I don't even know what it all is and nobody else knows what it is. And
Mhm.
now it's just one big, real big mess.
Mhm.
So I thought to myself, I need to fix this. And that's where your backup came from because people, I just found that they just weren't prepared in any emotionally, physically, with documents and paperwork.
Mhm.
I think we try to be,
Mhm.
like how many of us have a safety deposit box, but nobody knows where the key or the password is. I mean,
Mhm.
that's really helpful, isn't it? That's a great start. You go down to the bank and then you can't get access to it, and nobody told you needed a password when Uncle Charlie died. Like all of this kind of stuff. Where are the keys? Where's the will and the power of attorney? All of these
Mhm.
documents, for small business owners like Carol and John that had called me, um, and they had a small dollar store in a small city, and they ended up having, she looked after one area and he looked after another area, and now all of a sudden it was all on him.
Mhm.
So we need to be better prepared for what our life is like. Are we
Hmm.
self-employed? Are we working for someone else? Does your family or loved one know where your work policy is and what it
Hmm.
looks like? If you ended up with an ICU with COVID, are you covered for work?
Hmm.
How are you paying your mortgage?
So it's interesting. My dad worked for London Life for, I think, 35 years, and I worked for them for 7 years. And when dad got ill, um, we needed to find his group insurance coverage. And it was away at the safety deposit box. And
Oh,
I had a key, and my brother, sister, and I had gone in to Winnipeg on occasion to visit my parents, and we'd make a point of going to see the bank managers so they would know us and we'd be able to facilitate things. And of course, the bank manager moves to a different branch. And, you know, even though we have signing authority and we have a key and my brother has power of attorney and all this stuff, it just wasn't enough. And I also met somebody, fairly wealthy individual, last night at a function, and he was just talking about how he was setting up a family trust, and it was so complicated. And I said, just wait till you realize what you haven't put in there.
yeah. And as do you know, like, does the average person, when if I ask them, what's your backup plan look like? Oh, he looks after that.
Hmm.
Or, oh, that, I have a will. That's
Hmm.
all people are in this little box. And
Hmm.
when I was in the insurance world, I realized that the accountant looks after this over here. The lawyer or attorney looks after this over here, but
Hmm.
nobody looks after the middle.
Right.
Nobody knows what the other one is doing. Nobody knows all the other stuff. That's a true headache when it comes time to meeting it. When you thought you had all your T's crossed and your I's dotted.
Well, it's sort of a little bit of what we get with the medical system. And this is not to disparage our medical system because I'm alive because of it. But, you've got Dr. A looking at one thing and Dr. B looking at another and Dr. C looking at another. And none of them are talking to each other to see if there's some sort of common linkage that they can use to resolve your situation.
That's kind of that's kind of silly, isn't it, when you think of that in that
Hmm.
way?
Yeah.
But it's the same sort of deal because they don't, unless you actually have a meeting where you're a celebrity and you have a full-time accountant and you have a
Hmm.
full-time attorney and you probably have a full-time doctor.
Hmm.
So then everybody's at the party.
But wait, you're a celebrity now. You're pretty famous.
Yeah. In what world? Tina's.
Hmm.
Or maybe your backup plan so far, anyways.
Hmm.
It's such a wonderful feeling of helping people. I
Hmm.
it's like I need my drug, and my drug is everybody. And
Hmm.
it's those phone calls that say, can you come and talk at our our convention? Can you come and do a workshop on this? Can you what would I do if Aunt Sally did this? And can I call you and have you know a consultation about that? Or you saved our butts,
Hmm.
last week when I had done this, not giving it any thought, and then all of a sudden I needed it. Not that
Hmm.
that's what happens, but I think it's a realization that, holy cow, I wouldn't have done that.
Hmm. So I have to say, you're looking very well. And I didn't mention before, but one of the first podcasts I guested on was your podcast. And you were very gracious in having me on and telling my story. And you look like you're doing really well. Um, so I'm happy for you for that.
Oh,
So,
thank you. Thank you.
so
It's
you
a lot of
mentioned,
work, isn't it,
yeah,
Fred?
it is. And you mentioned speaking gigs and things of that nature. So if somebody wanted to book you for a speaking gig, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, I have a link tree URL so that it makes it easier. So it's
Mm-hmm.
on, I'm everywhere. There's
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, Facebook. What have I missed? Twitter, LinkedIn. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm there. So I put everything in a link tree. So it's link tree, your backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find me there
Okay.
and reach out to me um, by email as well, or by my phone number on my YouTube channel is everything, or my Facebook page.
Okay. If I remember correctly, you're based on the West Coast, right? West
Yes,
Coast of Canada.
yes, Vancouver.
Okay. So is that your sort of range for where you will do a gig, or you will venture outside those areas?
That's a great question, actually, because right now it's just been who's been asking me around here, but
Mm-hmm.
perhaps one day I'll be going all sorts of areas. Because right now, what I've been doing is creating a program called the Emergency Rescue and another one called Caregiver Rescue.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it's the app becomes part of the program. So you get the app when you purchase the program. And the first program is going to be launched January 1st.
Oh, very exciting.
Yeah, I don't have a date for the bigger one. It's going to be more complex. It's for the
Mm-hmm.
average person. And then after that, there will be a small group, kind of a small business aspect where it will
Mm-hmm.
be small business emergency rescue. Because they're their own entity as well. You know, they owe
Sure.
things, they have to pay things, and they have assets and that type of thing, and employees, part of the family, that type of entity. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to really encompass that. So yeah, the caregiver rescue program, which I started implementing, and so I started interviewing different attorneys and lawyers from around the world, primarily United States and Canada right now, but I
Mm-hmm.
will be going to the UK and interviewing Australia and UK and that type of thing as part of our library videos, so that
Mm-hmm.
people can access and get 20-minute videos on why things are being done that way and
Mm-hmm.
how it's being done, so that when we better understand why we need it, we will do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's my
I think to lump into the things we don't get taught financial literacy either.
Yeah.
So that's a big miss in our educational system. So
Yes. Yes.
we can just add it to the list.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Things we need to change in our society. So, um, are you doing all the coding for this yourself, or do you have people that do this for you?
I hire people to do that part.
Okay. Are you finding that a pretty smooth process, or is it hard to translate English and thoughts into software ease?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because actually I started as a Microsoft certified systems engineer. That's
Mm-hmm.
quite helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And so that what that is software, both software development and software usage issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to work at a call center about 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked at the college and university, and I was head of the computer department a few times in my life.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I've been around it and
Mm-hmm.
really didn't understand why I was put into that field, just because I thought I would find it interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
then because I wasn't working with in front of people, I found if I sat in front of the screen, it's not me.
For sure.
So that's when I think that's kind of how it evolved. And then I went into Sun Life. I went into life insurance and the
Mm-hmm.
financial aspect, and medical and dental benefits. And I felt I was more kind of fitted for that because I was helping people again.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just evolved because I put the two worlds together. And said, I can put this together in an app because they've given me, this education to be able to do that. So I feel the universe has definitely driven me this way.
For sure. What's that saying? Your feet always take you where you're supposed to be. So, if you didn't have that software background, maybe your app doesn't get built.
That's right. That's right. Because I wouldn't be thinking like that.
Hmm. So, is the app a subscription plan or is it a one-time buy or how does it work?
Currently, it's a one-time buy of
Hmm.
$7.99,
Hmm.
but it will be changing to a monthly. And why I say that is because we need to be able to ensure that we keep your information, whatever that looks like, on your app at all times.
Hmm.
So it was a one-time thing. I can't promise you in 5 years that it will still be there, kind of idea, right?
Hmm.
But it just makes sense. But even for as little information that it holds, it doesn't necessarily hold any pertinent information for safety reasons. And that's why
Hmm.
I train people when they purchase the app to ensure that they put in as much information as they feel comfortable. And that could be, you don't necessarily need to tell your family member your bank account number, but you
Hmm.
do tell them at what branch where
Sure.
its location is. So then you can take that information and get the proper information that you're supposed to get there.
Hmm.
So, and the picture of a will, you don't take a copy of the whole thing where,
Hmm.
um, for safety purposes. So it's just a matter of making things easy, and you get webinars included in that every month. So you get
Hmm.
tips on, oh, let's try this now, or oh, you've got me inspired to work on this part now. So,
I think it's a brilliant, brilliant idea. My mom passed recently in June, and my brother's a lawyer. He was worked at a fairly big firm, and he's familiar with powers of attorney and you know stuff like that. But he had never, oh, what's the word? Um, he had never settled an estate.
oh,
You know, but you think a lawyer, it's just another contract. It should be nothing for him, but it
yeah,
wasn't. And there's a big learning curve, and he wasn't registered in Manitoba anymore, so we had to find somebody to probate the will. Is the phrase I'm looking for. So
yes.
it's there's always going to be something, but the more you can do up front, the less stressful and the easier it's going to be for you and your family and your loved ones.
Especially it could just be for you too. I mean,
Hmm.
you could go in with a coma and come out 2 weeks later, but who looks
Hmm.
after everything during that time frame?
Hmm. Good point. Excellent point. And I think we saw enough people going into comas over the last 2 years to know
Yes.
that there's,
And scary.
yeah. I heard last night that two-thirds of the people in India caught COVID.
Holy cow.
I mean, that's twice the population of the United States. To what level they caught it, who knows? But that's, if we thought we got hammered here,
Yeah,
um, they got hammered so many times worse. Um, so maybe your app needs to go to India.
it needs to go everywhere.
It
I
does.
mean, look at Florida with the condo collapse and the
Hmm.
hurricanes. Do you have an emergency grab and go bag? Are you prepared for a storm or electricity out? Or do you know where your shutoff valves are?
Hmm.
Is part of it. And all you have to do is click emergency in the app, and it brings you to getting your bag prepared and how to prepare it and what to put in it. And it includes some of the documents, because not only are you going to have them up in the cloud stored, but you're also going to have the secondary copy, and you can grab that and go with it and not leave it to the universe to look after for you, because the insurance companies don't like it so much
Hmm.
when you put in a claim and you have no documentation for it.
Absolutely. So it's funny you mentioned the condo in Florida that collapsed. Is, that was top of mind, what everybody was talking about for like 2 or 3 days, and then we've heard nothing about it since.
Now,
You know.
the only thing that I've heard is, when you think about it, anything like, did they think that they were going to just fall from the sky, basically, like one night? I mean,
Mhm.
who would ever think that would ever happen?
Yeah. And why did it happen?
Yeah. But
Oh.
not only that, but the problem arose after the fact, which always
Hmm.
happens. It's after the fact.
Hmm.
And how that happened is, not only do family, because not only do family not maybe not know grandma or aunt or their best friend or whoever good enough to know what jewelry they have in their jewelry box.
Hmm.
Well, I think I saw that on my aunt's finger. Like, now they've collected all of this stuff and
Hmm.
nobody knows who it belongs to.
Hmm.
So if you had done the app, you would have a picture of your jewelry box. You would have
Hmm.
a picture of certain items of art, perhaps, or hobbies that you have. Like, I have a guy who collects fire trucks. Very weird, but yeah,
Not full size, hopefully.
full size.
Okay.
And then I have, what about their documentation? And where is their will? Did they keep it with them in the place? Because now where is it?
Hmm.
If it's not somewhere else other than in your home. So there was a lot of problems behind the scenes that nobody realizes after the fact. You
Hmm.
know, the first problem is figuring out if who is that person that they found. And then the second part is, who belongs to all this stuff that they
Hmm.
find? And that could be in a hurricane, a tornado, a flood. I mean, that could happen for anything.
Yeah,
Earthquake.
for sure. Okay. So, Tina, I'm afraid we're getting close to having to wrap up. So, I want to invite you to participate in the um, Dead Man Walking questionnaire.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oops. As soon as I can open up my phone. So, I'm going to ask you to pick a number from 1 to 36. And then I will,
25.
sorry,
What?
25.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see what we have here.
Uh-oh. Need a drum roll.
Yeah, and you could pass if you want. If you could be any type of domestic pet, what pet would you choose to be and who would you want to live with?
Oh my gosh. That is such an easy question for me, because
Okay.
I always say that I would totally be a cat,
Mm-hmm.
because a cat does whatever it wants when it
Mm-hmm.
wants,
Mm-hmm.
and it loves to cuddle, and it loves to love you when it wants to love you.
Mm-hmm.
It's its own boss. Definitely. I think we all have a little bit of cat in us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I'd be definitely a cat. And who would I like to own me? Hmm. I probably would have to say, it has to be a man. I'm just,
Okay, we can leave it at that.
I'm not sure who, but I,
Just make sure
I
you put in your backup plan if you're resurrected as a cat,
yeah,
who you want to live with.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, Tina, thank you so much for being on with me today. And just one last time, people can just find you, look up Tina Ginn, Ginn, at My Backup Plan, and they'll find you 3,000 places all over the interweb.
Yes,
And
your backplan.ca is the actual
okay.
website. and the link tree is your backup plan. So you can look that up as well. I should have a QR code that I hold up.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. So, for
Thank
those of
you.
you that don't know what a link tree is, it's just a link to a common space online where you can show the 300 odd different ways you can get a hold of somebody. So, because there are some people who don't know what a link tree is yet.
It's kind of like a QR code that the TV shows are using now as well. They
Yeah.
have a hold up a QR code, which encompasses usually a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, and QR codes are another anomaly. Like, 10, 12 years ago, they were the rage. Like, they were going to change retail and everything. And you could put a QR code on anything and, just snap the code and you'll be able to buy something on a wall in a bar. But, and then they kind of went away and now they've kind of come back and they're very, very functional. So,
Yeah, must have missed something along the line in the
mhm.
creation of it somehow. But thank you for having me on, Fred, and thank you, listeners, for everything that you guys do. And Fred works hard at putting out shows, and it's not
As do
as easy.
you. You work way harder than I do. So there's no doubt about that. So, to everybody out there, thank you for tuning in to the Dead Man Walking podcast. At least I got it right on the outro part. And please like, subscribe, share, popularize us, and tell people about Tina's fabulous app. And that it's one of those small insurance policies that can pay big benefits when you really need it. So, thank you, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you next episode. Bye bye.
Bye.